Hey legends, welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host Jared, and joining me is Ian. How you going, Ian?
I'm good, Jared. How you doing, mate?
Getting by, mate. Getting by. I'm like, Ian's in the house. He's not in the car.
I know, I know. If I ask my because the children are all back at school now, so it's like when they're off school, they're going to bed a bit later, but because they're back at school, they're back in bed at a reasonable time, so I can take over the lounge,
I only
like
just,
a normal person.
I only just twigged on that just then when I said it. So there you go. It's been a bit of an interesting week. A lot of stuff going on at Celtic Football Club. Yeah, plenty to talk about. But yeah, I'll just a few things. Like we've got transfer windows over since our last pod, so we'll talk about that. And then we'll also talk about, we've got a crazy upcoming fixture list. We've got a game that we just played on the weekend to discuss. And then something I want to start off with. We had the fan protests against Dundee, Ian. And there's been talk since about Brian Wilson coming out saying that he's reaching out and he wants to sit down now the transfer window's open over and meet with different fan groups. Apparently, there's talk of the Supporters Club Association disappearing from the collective. I just want to talk about this for a second because there's been a bit going on in terms of like certain fan bodies are being reached out to instead of the collective. And I think that's disappointing, but to be expected, the club would have done that. They've had longer term relationships with, let's say, the Green Brigade or the Supporters Association or, you know, the Celtic Trust. They'd know who those people are and the ones I need to contact more than the collective. But just a bit of an interesting situation, Ian. So, what are your thoughts on Brian Wilson wanting to sit down with individual groups and chat with them rather than reaching out and getting the collective in there? Because I like the fact that the Green Brigade's come out and said, as much as there's things we want to talk about, you need to go through the collective, and the Celtic Trust done the same thing, and a lot of fan media apparently was said they were getting reached out to, but no one's heard boo. So, what's your thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, I think with Brian Wilson, he's kind of there's a bit more sense, and he's been a bit more communicative, which has been pleasing because considering what we were served up before, which is kind of just treated like sort of naughty children, really, or belligerent children. So the only communication source we've really been getting, practical and sort of informative, has been through Martin O'Neill. So it's a step maybe in the right direction, but the collective have come together for the very purpose that we've taken as much as we can take, and to bring create that unity within the fan groups, to be cohesive and to articulate, in a non-violent and non-aggressive manner. I think it's been articulated pretty well. The reasons that we can all see of why we've actually found ourselves in third place in the league now. This has been culminating for a long, long time. So um, the board have to basically own what they've done wrong. They've got if they don't prove to the fans what they've done wrong, then how can they actually atone for it and fix it? So it's not like we're trying to sort of embarrass them and sort of tar and feather them and run them through the streets, but there has to be some kind of some humility from the board. So if they're going to try and divide and conquer by not actually going through the collective and just speak to individual groups to sort of garner support, I don't know. I really don't know the full ins and outs of it. But the fact that the man, Mister Wilson, he's actually sort of offering an olive branch of sorts, and is wanting to engage. It's a step in the right direction. So I hope we can find some kind of common ground to start to, yeah, we can get the Green Brigade back in for a kickoff. Because the atmosphere without them, despite the protest against Dundee, I wasn't in the ground, but you can see it in the television. You can see it for the European nights. It's just the stadium lacks so much with them not being in it. So I hope it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I got a few things I want to say there. Like looking at the crowd at the Dundee game, Ian, and it was like watching a Melbourne City A-League game. The lack of crowd, there was, like, 4 empty seats for every one person there. It was, it's a bit of an interesting one. So, yeah, definitely gotta get the Green Brigade in. The thing I look at it is them coming to the table, it's one of 3 things for me, right? It's either they're starting to feel the pressure from the fans in terms of Lorwell's left, you've got people voting with their feet in terms of coming to the games, like, on the weekend, or people voting with and or the third one is people are voting with their dollars by not spending anything with the not another penny situation, right? So and then you've also got them getting abuse, and you're getting the protests in the stadium of people, sack the board chants, and that sort of stuff. So when you put it all together, those 3 things, it's pushing in the right direction in terms of they're starting to hear the message, and they're starting to realize, okay, this isn't just about the individuals at the club. It's not about Peter Lorwell. It's good. Look, he's left is great. It's what we needed. But there's still more. We still need more change. And even if Michael Nicholson and the rumours of him having tendered his resignation are true, right? We still want more. He leaves. We've got Brian Wilson there. We still need to get. He's an interim. We still need to get another. We need to. Our recruitment structure is absolutely non-existent. We need a director of football, in my opinion. We need a head of scouting. We need someone to head up the youth academy. All of those guys should be reporting into the director of football. So, yeah, it's just there's a lot of change that needs to happen to modernise the football club, and that's not even talking about the stadium as well and what needs to happen to upgrade that. So there's lots that needs to be done, but it's one of those ones for me where the biggest thing at the moment, Ian, and I'm just coming I know I'm waffling a little bit here, but I'm coming back to the first thing you said. It's good that he's wanting to, answer answer and meet with people, because if he's meeting with people, what happens? At least he's talking.
Yeah.
Michael Nicholson's a mute. At least Brian Wilson's talking and putting his name to a statement and getting out there. So for me, it's pretty good. Now, I'm gonna jump on some comments here quickly. And it's not necessarily about this, but Glasgow Celtic in the comments. How hail troops in the hoops. Now, I'm loving your profile picture there. That is the best. That is the best outfit for your dog. Happy days, mate. Hey, hey, there he is. Morning, Jared, my Aussie comrade. What's happening, Ian?
I mean,
Good to see you again. Gaddafi's 566. I believe that's Gaddafi's Semtex, if my memory is right, before they changed all these codes. Bring on the Huns. We're looking forward to our trip to Mordor. More like trips. We'll talk about that a little later. But talking about the crowd, Ian, right? Pork Chop Express, get fans back in. How can we sing You Never Walk Alone with a sparsely filled stadium? And then Pork Chops also followed that up with saying, what was the crowd yesterday? Less than us. What was their crowd yesterday? And it actually was, which was crazy because our crowd was like 23,500 or something like that. So, yeah, a bit of a doozy there. But, yeah, just I think what we'll do, Ian, before we go into the Dundee game is we'll probably just get into the transfer window and the players we've signed and all that sort of stuff, because then that ties into the players that have come in. So bear with us a second. Okay. So since our last pod, transfer window ended, we had, what was it, 3 signings on transfer deadline day. Joel Mavuka, absolutely butchered these names, by the way. Benjamin Arthur and Junior Adamu. So all on loan. We spoke about not another penny. Yep, the board's playing along with that too.
yeah.
So we've spoken about our new striker, I'll go him. Was it Thomas Svancheva? I learned how to say that watching the game the other day. I completely was butchering saying Svansvara or whatever it was, so completely no clue how to say that one. But and then you've got Arajo, Julian Arajo. Like we'll be bringing 5 players during the window, all on loan. Yeah, it's been an interesting window overall, Ian. So what we'll do, what are your thoughts on how the transfer window played out, first of all? And then we'll discuss the players we signed during the window only. So we're not gonna mention about the other signing, which we'll get to a little bit after this one.
Okay. It remains to be seen, really, how we obviously left it late against Dundee, but it remains to be seen how the new signings are gonna slot in. I did think I've sort of said this in Axom. I think I might have said this on here as well. I kind of likened it to when we were was it 2007 season when Gordon Strachan went and signed players who were sort of doing it, thorns on our side from other Scottish teams. Barry Robson being the main one, I thought he was a great signing, and it kind of we turned down an 8 point deficit and ended up winning the league. So I think because with the sort of the shit show that we've kind of found ourselves in, I thought that going out and getting like the Masawinisi from Motherwell, players that are sort of doing it within the league, I thought that would have been a sort of a no brainer really, because the guys that come from outside of the league, this isn't an assimilation period. You'd imagine. Hopefully there's not, but there probably will be. We haven't really got the time to have players come and settle in. We need players to come in and sort of hit the ground running. In terms of what I've seen so far, Svanchvara, I don't know how you pronounce his name either, so apologies, big man, if I'm getting it wrong, or sorry to his mum. But he looks good. He reminds me a bit. I said this before. His gait reminds me a bit of Chris Sutton. And then I watched. I don't know if you saw that interview that Chris Sutton did with Martin O'Neill, and Martin O'Neill said the same thing. So just the way he runs and he's kind of his gait, and there's certain sort of parts of his play. It just reminded me of Sutty. So that's not a bad thing either. We needed some aggression up front. We needed, after losing Ida, we needed some balls, and we needed someone who's going to run and who's got some power and pace. So he seems to have that. Like what I saw in the small parts against Hearts, I think he was taken off too early. Actually, I think they should have kept him on. So that looks okay. And obviously Adamu, isn't Adamu? His flicked goal was pretty clever against Dundee. So again, it's a bit too early to see, but Arajo, he's been a good signing. I think he looks a quality player, and it's a shame that we've not got some kind of option to buy on it. Maybe he doesn't want to come to us. It should maybe just put himself in to get himself into the Mexican squad for the World Cup. But he looks a top quality player, and I think he'll give AJ a run for his money to try and get back in the team. Who else have we got? The Mavuka. I haven't seen enough of him to sort of make a judgment really. But let's hope that there's sufficient quality to get us over the line with the title. But if we don't win the title, it's our own fault. We don't deserve it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to jump on something you said there. So apparently with Mavuka and Adamu and Chantavatua, however you say his name, I'll get it wrong. Big Tommy, I'll call him. Those three we have options to buy, from what I've heard.
Yep.
Arahel we don't have, but Bournemouth paid £8.5 million for him. So the talk is apparently they'd take, what I've heard in different chats and stuff, is they would take roughly around the 7 million mark for him.
But if he goes to the World Cup and has a stormer.
Yeah, I know. I'd be at the point where the way I look at it is if he does well for us, I'd be reaching out while he's already at the club, trying to have chats with him and Bournemouth and say he wants 7 million for him. Let's do the deal. Let's pay you the money. Because if he does well, I honestly think AJ's probably only got one season left with us before he's going to want his next move and for us to cash in at peak value. So if that happens, I'd love to have his long-term replacement in. So yeah, that'd be I just look at it from that point of perspective. I I think the big strikers, Junior Damu and Big Tom, from what we've seen, I like the look of both of them, I like the cut of their jib. Martin's wanting to go to two up front, I think Big Tom would work well with, his link up play and the way he holds it would work well with someone alongside him. So maybe we go to a 4-4-2 sort of thing eventually. And if we do that, that would work pretty well. What does that mean for Iheanacho? We'll soon figure it out. But yeah, I think Mavuka didn't really see much from him. Like, okay, this is my take on him from the game that we just saw against Dundee, right? I thought he was a lot of energy. I thought the way he played was very reminiscent of a Bolingoli
Okay.
in terms of really good running forward. Occasionally would get caught out of position or misplace it, have a bad first touch, but he was trying hard. Now, there was times where some of his play came off and I was like, "Oh, that looked good," and then there was other things there. Whether that's a combination thing where he needs to build up his combinations with his teammates and he's just in the door, I'm not gonna judge him right now. I'll give each of these new players we've got 5 or 6 games before I start to make a proper opinion on each of them.
Yeah. I was going to
Benjamin
say,
Arthur,
oh, sorry,
sorry,
go on.
Benjamin Arthur, the centre back we signed. Yeah, apparently he's got some really big raps on him as well. So that'll be an interesting one to see what happens there as well. What were we going to say, Ian?
Just before we moved on from that, sorry, I didn't realize you were going to. I forgot about him actually. So hopefully he's
So
going
did
to be
I
one of
until I
them.
looked down at my notes.
Yeah, but was it just when you mentioned about AJ maybe having one more season? I think you're probably right, but then I think there's maybe two sides to that. He's either going to go, or I can see him staying and becoming a captain, and like sort of staying and seeing out his career here. If we look after him, it depends. Really, he seems happy in Scotland, and he's kind of, I think he likes the environment with Celtic. So, and if there's going to be changes in a positive way, and we start taking Europe seriously, we might be able to fulfil his ambitions actually at the club, which is what we should be doing. I know we're at a selling club, but you want to try and keep some of the fabric.
I'd love for him to want to stay long term and do a 8.5, 8 year stretch like Lustig did. I would love for that
Yeah,
to happen, right?
yeah,
But I look at it for AJ and go, is he going to be sitting there seeing his Canadian national teammates coming out of the MLS, making moves into like France and Germany and stuff like that, and then making another big move when they're just before their 30th birthday and making some bank and everything beforehand? So, what does he value more? Is he happy here? He's had an injury interrupted year. Is he going to be at the point where he's like, maybe if I stay too long and I'm not injured, if I stay and I keep getting injured, I'm not going to get another move. I'm going to be trapped at this level. So maybe it's time for him to go. And the Pork Chop Express has got a good point here with about his fitness issues. It's down to a lack of playing. Which one are you talking about? Srirachi, sorry, he's talking about. But yeah, I think this also kind of ties in with AJ. He had no real off season. He played the whole off season, didn't really have a break. So maybe that's why his injuries are catching up with him. But as Andrew's saying, it's a rebuild in the summer, and we'll jump into the other new signing we haven't touched on, the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. As Glasgow Celtic is saying, Oxlade-Chamberlain could be massive for us. What's your thoughts on that signing? Because I've always been a fan of his. I even liked him way back when he came through at Southampton before he went to Arsenal. He was one of those ones I signed in Football Manager all the time when he was a young kid.
yeah. He's undoubtedly class, and another good thing as well with us trying to get over the line for the season is he's played at two of the biggest clubs in the world, really, in Arsenal and Liverpool. So he's been there and done it. So he's got the way he's used to the sort of expectation and the pressure that comes with playing for a big club. So that's a good thing, I think, in terms of coming into the dressing room. I know he's from down in England, but it's still from the British Isles, and I think Joe Hart's apparently sort of giving him sort of a bit of a pep talk and briefed him on Celtic. So he'll find out for himself anyway. But the fact that you've got sort of Joe Hart in the background as well, sort of putting an arm around him and guiding him. But I think in terms of his a player, if we can keep him fit, I think he can do really well for us. He's 32, and I think in modern football, 32 is probably like the old 28, maybe the old 30. Maybe I think there's
Yeah,
definitely
a couple of years.
much more longevity in players, the way they, the diet and the fitness and all that stuff, the way they look after themselves. So, and he seems like a level-headed guy. He seems like doesn't seem like one. I just like where he's coming from, and I'm like you. I've liked him. Obviously, I kind of have a soft spot for Liverpool, so I was glad that he was at Liverpool. He was unlucky with a couple of those bad injuries, but other than that, I thought he was really great at Liverpool.
There's a comment here from Andrew Galea saying, "Who does he come in for? 25 million Engels or top scorer Nigrin?" It's a good luxury to have, because the way I look at it, Andrew, is that our bench has looked really, really plain all season. So I was looking before, we've got like a crazy 8-game stretch coming up. Now we actually have players that will be able to rotate with the new signings, the fullbacks coming in, players coming back from injury. It actually gives us options. Gives Martin options where we go to the bench and it's like, oh, do we have a game changer there? Hang on a second. We can look at the bench and go, do we? I think the Dundee game was a last roll of the dice for Bernardo personally, and Hatate potentially. But if Martin O'Neill's looking at the bench going, okay, I've got Bernardo, I've got Nigrin, I have Hatate, I have McCowan on the bench. He's got options. He can impact the game. We didn't have that. So yeah, it's going to be good, but we'll see how it all works out.
Yeah, I think if he can stay fit, we can keep him fit. And apparently he's been, obviously he's been training at a high level as well. He's been training with the Arsenal first team. So he's not going to be match fit, but he's certainly going to be not far off it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a look here at some of the, like Franny's saying here in the comments, he looks like a player who can take the ball on the half turn and drive. Good passer
Yeah,
too. Hope he's not lost it. The thing is, as you're saying, 32 is like the old 28 because of all of
yeah,
that. But yeah, he started early. He debuted at 16 or whatever, but 2 games a week, rotating players. We don't expect him to come in and be the main man. This could be exactly what he needs, and ties into something funny that I saw earlier in the week. I couldn't find the picture, but can FIFA on the old PlayStation and everything, FIFA 13, the cover, you had Joe Hart on one side, you had Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain on the other, and in the middle was Leo Messi. So only one to go to complete that
yeah.
cover in the hoops. There we go.
He does have a soft spot for the hoops. Does Messi? He said that in the past.
One can only dream.
Aye.
But yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. So what we'll do now, Ian, is we'll go through the squad with how it sits, and we'll just discuss like positions, and then we'll go through like then we'll look at it from a whole, like what are our strengths as a team, what are our weaknesses, and then the last question we'll leave this part of the convo with is: are we confident this team will go on to win the league? So what I'll do is I'll start off with our loan section, right? So the players that we currently, oh, that's a great comment there, Andrew. You're saying, is he our new Moy who put O'Reilly on the bench? And then Glasgow Celtic CSC saying Moy strolled it when he signed, and that's the sort of thing. This is what the Oxlade Chamberlain signing is. So on loan, Inamura's gone to, is it FC Tokyo? Naroski, Welsh are still out on loan at Hanover and Motherwell. Montgomery is at Livi. Odin Home, who knows what's going on there? He's sick. Lewis Palmer, your mate Robert Gibson, is at Lech Poznan. And then you've got Shin Yamada went to Bruce and Munster, and Johnny Kenny down to Bolton Wanderers. So now we look at our actual squad. Goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel, Williamson Silo, and Ross Doohan. I'm happy with that. I like the look of what we got from Big Vil on the in the game.
You see- I go on, sorry.
Just the goalkeeper situation there, Ian. What do you
Sorry,
think?
I wasn't sure if you were going to keep going through the list. So,
No, no,
yeah, I think Sinisalo, he's not really covered himself in glory for me so far. I think maybe it's just he needs more of a run in the team. But Duhan, he's number 3. But I think we signed Sinisalo with a view to taking over as the heir apparent. But when he's come back in, he looked good in the cup run. So I think it was unfortunate to get dropped for the cup final. I think he should have gone in, especially with Casper having carrying that injury. But yeah, maybe he just needs more of a run to sort of get himself back up to shape.
Yeah, I think there's a player there still. It's a hill I'm not willing to die on, but I still think he's a good player, and I hope that Casper moves on in the off season. Sinisalo is given the first shout at the jersey.
Yeah,
We'd need to sign someone anyway, but
yeah,
at
we
the
need to
same
send
time,
somebody else as well. Yeah, yeah,
but I would like to see him get a crack at it. So I think the goalkeeper position at this point in time is pretty comfortable. Now, if we go right back, we have Alistair Johnson, Colby Donovan, and Julian Araujo. That position is absolutely loaded. I think that's probably one of the strongest positions we have in the actual squad in terms of
yeah,
everyone, if everyone was healthy. Then
yeah,
at left back, well, we have Kieran Tierney and we have Marcelo Sirachi. Sirachi's one that if we signed him in the off-season, I'd be happy with that too.
me too. Yeah, good player.
Happy with that. And then at the centre backs, if we rattle through them all, Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, Cameron Carter Vickers, Benjamin Arthur, Dane Murray. Oh, at right back, I forgot our fourth option there in the Bricky as well,
Yeah,
Tony Ralston.
of course.
So we're pretty loaded at centre back now. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
I thought we should have brought Rocky back, but yeah, we are. It's. But you look again. We've spoken about this before about the quality. I know it's obviously it's a strange times at the moment, but you want to be making your best player your worst player ultimately through evolution. And Liam Scales has been fantastic, and he has evolved and become a much better player. But I think we should be looking to phase him out really, and be getting much better quality if we want to sort of do anything in Europe. And that's nothing against Liam Scales. I think he's perfectly fantastic for the league, but in some of the bigger games, maybe we've been found wanting a little bit. But yeah, I think all in all, at the moment, this season is kind of as good as it can be, and as strong as it can be.
I'm going to jump on that for a second, Ian, what you just said about Scales, right? Because I think for a Conference League and Europa League, he's fine for Europe.
Yeah,
Last season, what we saw in the Champions League, Trusty, Champions League looked a step too far for him. But in the Europa League, he's been one of the better centre backs.
but against Atalanta, he was immense though, trusty.
Yeah, and the rest of
And,
the time he did bugger all.
yeah, yeah. But again, is that because he knew the game plan, and I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of
I've
he
got an
seems.
idea on that one. That's because he was going back to his old Sheffield United style where sit
Yeah,
deep and men behind the ball and just try and hang on for a clean sheet. So he just
yeah.
went back to default mode.
Maybe. But I think with Scales as well, it's like I don't know whether he can do it, but his concentration sometimes or his positional sense sometimes is a bit lacking, and it's just that as you go up to that level. But we should be gearing up to be a Champions League club. Think like a Champions League club. If you think it and you try and aspire to it, hopefully you won't be far away if you fall.
And that's why I said what I just said there about like those guys being at that level because there you go, Scales as two man of the match in the UCL. Completely forgot about that. But it's one of them where I look at it and I think the big issue for those two in particular is not having Carter Vickers alongside them
Mhm.
because he makes life easier for pretty much anyone alongside him anyway. If we had him alongside them in the Champions League, and Naroski, he could be an option for us as well, but we didn't have a recall on his loan deal, so that was
No,
the issue there. Otherwise, I think we would have brought him back and not brought and not mucked around with Welsh at Motherwell,
He's
which
totally
was
a Man
impressive.
United, Martin O'Neill player as well. Noroski, I think O'Neill would love him and
So,
get the best out of him.
yeah. So in the summer, I don't know how we're going to strengthen. Arthur will leave, obviously. Glasgow Celtic CSC saying sell Ralston, loan Donovan, sign Araujo if possible. Yep, I would also be putting Dane Murray out on loan to a Scottish Premiership team next season and just give him a run of games at the league. So, and then that would, if you lose Arthur and you lose him, that opens up a spot for you to bring in another centre back and then aim for the sky. Like aim for the
Yeah,
stars. Let's go for it. Let's try and get a Champions League level centre back in.
yeah.
Someone with a bit of nastiness and a bit of mean streak. Let's try something like that. But I think overall the defense looks pretty solid, the shape it's in now compared to what it was 6 weeks ago. So then we'll get to the midfield. Benjamin Nigren, Luke McCowan, Arnie Engels, Paolo Bernardo, Rare Hurtado, Callum McGregor.
It used to be our strongest department, didn't it, midfield? We used to sort of say, we're kind of at an embarrassment of riches. That was when Rio was firing like he. I think his head's gone. It seems to his head's gone, or O'Neill's not taken to him. I don't know what goes on behind because he always kind of looked a bit moody. But I think he's the best midfielder at the club on his day. I think he's the best midfielder, and I think Engels is right up there as well. Obviously, Engels has still got a lot of growth to do. I always remember when Ange said about Hatate and Matoma, who's down at Brighton. He said that I don't know what was the team he was at. Anyway, they were playing this team, and he said Matoma and Hatate ripped his team to shreds. And I think Celtic nearly signed Matoma as well, so that's why he went and got Rio. He just said
That
they
was
were
the same with
class.
Shantali.
Right, yeah, okay. So, Bernardo, I loved Bernardo as well, and it's like, I don't know what's happened to him either, whether he's just disheartened. But when you get the chance, you've got to go in and seize it and grasp it, and he seems to be right at the bottom of the pecking order. I'd love to see him hang around and have an race. Get back to the relative form that he's had before in the past. I think he was trusted in Europe by Brendan Rodgers, and I think he was pretty effective. Very clever use of the ball. It's so I really hope he gets another sort of crack at it. But it's a really reasonably strong midfield. And I'm just thinking about the last 15 games.
I'm looking at the midfield and going, what should have been our strongest part, Ian, is actually the biggest concern for me. How many games have we had this season where the midfielders has been passed by the game? We don't really have people come in and making an impact, and I think that's why we signed Oxlade Chamberlain. Like you said, Engels has still got a lot of development, and I look at it and go, sometimes when you're that young up and coming player who's like, what is he, like 21 years old now, Engels, he's probably looking at it like they're probably looking going, he needs a veteran player who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And when you look at someone like Oxlade Chamberlain, what's he won a Champions League, won the Premier League, been there, done that, played 30 something games for England. That's someone that can help our midfield guys. Player like Rio in particular, I'm just going to point him out, and Bernardo, not in terms of professionalism, but in terms of the mindset of being switched on and prepared for every single game, not
Yeah,
just being one of the best midfielders in your league on your day. If you've got Oxlade Chamberlain, who's playing alongside guys like Mo Salah and Firmino and just rattling off a few others here, Big Virgil and these guys,
yeah,
Andy Robertson, you're around these people who their worst game is still a 7 out of 10.
yeah.
You're not having those players who are their best game's an 8, but their worst game is a 3 or a 4 like we're seeing
Yeah,
this season.
that's too up and down. But you just reminded me actually. I was watching a podcast with Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt, I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but they were talking about before. I think it was when Carrick got the manager job at Manchester United. Sorry, everyone, for talking about Man United, but it reminded me about sort of subs, and they were saying that the reason that Solskjaer used to score so many goals from the bench is because he watched the game intently, so he wasn't coming in from the cold. Whereas you get a lot of subs, will just switch off and then go on. So that's what subs, if you want to be effective coming from the bench, you need to be in tune with the game and totally engaged and see where the runs are not being made, or what's happening, where the gaps are. So when the coach sends you on, you've already got an idea of anyway what's needed for you to go in and improve the team.
And you can see how the game is evolving. Like, if there's a certain player that you can spot and go, okay, this player is supposed to be holding more central, but they're drifting out to the left, just put that in the back of your mind. Go, there's going to be a pocket of space there. So
Yeah,
later on in the game, I don't have to go for it straight away, but get to the 90th minute and you need a shot. Now you know where the space will open up. So
yeah,
be in the game. So then when you get in, like in the game mentally, so when you get in the game physically, you're ready to go.
yeah. Agree.
Yep. So I think the middle of the park needs some strengthening. And then we've got some Andrew Galea saying we'll lose Satade, Engels, Bernardo in the summer. Better start looking. And there's some good rumors going around. Like, apparently we're linked with what's his as a midfielder, over
Schaller or something, or
Schlager, whatever it
Schlager.
is, from Red Bull Leipzig, Austrian international. So apparently
But
we're already,
Juve are after him, aren't they? Juventus are after him, so
yeah. But then you look at Juventus, where's he going to sit in their mix? What's his priority going to be? Does he want to play?
mhm,
Because he's been at RB Leipzig, but not necessarily playing all the time. So does he want to play football, or does he want to go get a paycheck and sit on the bench?
yeah,
So it's going to come down to that. But you look at it, there's going to be some players moving on. At the same time, I think we'll rip up Holmes' contract in the summer because of his sickness and injuries and everything. And
that's a
as
shame.
Glasgow Celtic saying, Bernardo and Hatade had an opportunity at the weekend and neither impressed. Followed that up with, we're also linked with Bakayoko on a free as well. Like, I'd still look to bring him in if you could. There's your number 6 that we've been talking about for ages. Push Calmac further forward. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting one there. And Andrew's saying, does Chamberlain take over from McGregor? Well, he can rotate him, so now McGregor doesn't have to play every single game. So it could be a positive thing. But if McGregor's not the captain, starting each game, who's wearing the armband? What do you reckon, Ian?
Well, there's KT in it.
Has to be.
Yeah,
Has to be him or Scales.
yeah. I think KT is the. I wouldn't be averse to Scales. He doesn't seem like he's very vocal though. Not that you have to be vocal, but I think KT is the natural. I don't know if he's who's vice captain. Do we have a vice captain? I imagine we would do.
Yeah, his name is Cameron Carter-Vickers.
Is he the vice captain? Is he right? Okay.
Yep.
So who's the vice captain?
I think the next drop's actually AJ.
Right. Who's the vice captain?
Probably Casper. And I hate goalkeepers being the captain. I just can't do it
Yeah,
because they can't get in the ref's face to abuse them.
yeah. No, I'm sure. I'm
So
sure they must have. They must. KT must be on there somewhere.
has to be. So then we get to the forward line and we're looking at it going, there's some absolute duds in this list here. So you got Jota, who is not going to be seen this season. Junior Adamu. Does he exist? Balakwisha. The Paul Tisdale special. Shivancheva. There we go. I got it right. Yang, Ihinacho, Callum Osmond, I think he's done for the season. Tenekti, Mavuka, Dazen, and Jamesy. So heaps of options there. I think the wings are overloaded. We've got 3 or 4 options through the center, ticking a lot of boxes there. So I'm happy with that lineup up front as well for the rest of the season. Anyone there you want to talk about?
Well, I think obviously what was the point I talking about the guys that are injured really. Dyson again has been a bit of a. We should have
An
sold
enigma.
him last season. Pardon?
He's been an enigma this season.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's. Have you ever seen that movie? the Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he's like the big guy, and then he takes the serum and he turns it into the big. You know, it's like maybe that serum. Dyson found it for a season, and it turned him into this shit hot player. And he's kind of reverted back to being. I'm not trying to say he's terrible, but he's not a natural footballer. I don't think. You know, his first touch sometimes was like we go further than some other players could kick it. But then he had that outstanding season, and honestly, I'm not trying to be funny. I love the guy. I really love him, and his work ethic and everything else, and the fact that he just got his head down, or kind of tried to get his head down after that, not getting the move. But it's either he's gone back, he's reverted to type, and he kind of overachieved for that season or season and a half, or he just can't get out of his head, you know, and it's kind of disrupted him, and it's maybe disrupted his family. So we haven't got the full player there. So the two new boys, Shvanshvara and Junior. Yeah, again, we don't know much about the second one, but Shvanshvara, I think he looks decent, as I said earlier in the show. And Iheanacho is I know I can. It's not Iheanacho, sorry. It's
Iheanacho.
Is it Iheanacho?
Yeah. Big Kalechi.
Yes. Oh man, honestly, there's so many new names to get used to. I think if we can keep him fit, he holds the ball up. He's another big, strong, powerful boy, you know. So again, I think this is what we need to get us through these last games. Fight, you know, desire. Obviously, they can play a bit as well. But I think the forward line has been strengthened sufficiently to help us get as close to the line, if not over it, as we can.
And that's the key thing, Ian. Like, that's where this ties into. Like, are we happy with what we've done? And are we confident that this squad will be good enough to win the league? And I'm confident in Martin's coaching ability and his ability to bring a team together and bring these guys together to get the job done. Now, one thing I do want to say though is, what was Brendan wanting for the last 2 seasons? Pace and power.
Yeah.
We have that now.
You know what, as well? See if we win this league, this board don't deserve to win this league. You know. So it's like, I hope we do win the league, of course, but this board do not deserve it. You know, and they'll take the glory as well. I've no doubt. But you know, credit to Rangers for how they're going about the business. You know, they made the mistake with Russell Martin, and they went and changed it swiftly. Listened to the fans, changed it. Then the guy that got in, he's just going about his business quietly and diligently, not spectacularly. And it remains to be seen what their new signings are going to be like as well. But they're now his signing, so we're allowing them to grow more powerful when we shouldn't have. You know.
You want to know what they're doing at the moment, Ian? It's reminded me of Ange's first season when he come in and we didn't get the signings right at the start. And in the middle of the year, they brought some players in, they fixed some things up, and their managers just building a squad and building a culture. And yeah, they're on the right path for them.
I agree.
It is what it is, I suppose. But yeah,
well, the thing is, it's not as if we're paupers, you know. We actually can match it and stay ahead of them. I would say, you know, I don't, you know, unless their new owners just chuck loads and loads of money at it. I can't see that happening. Like you mentioned the stadium before. I don't know if we're going to talk about the stadium later on, but like when Rangers were gone and the Phoenix Club started and we didn't have a challenge, we should have been upgrading the stadium then. We should have a nice shiny upgraded stadium.
And building the hotel at the same time with the new club store and the museum and everything. Should have been putting their money into that.
Yeah.
But, you know, let's just build a rainy day fund. So just picture our board being Scrooge McDuck diving off the diving board into all the coins.
Yeah. And it's like, you think as well, right, so if we did upgrade that stadium, like Finiston, when the hydro was built, it regenerated the whole area, you know, if you make that stadium somewhere that's going to be in use 364 days a year or whatever, you know, and you've got restaurants and you've got stuff and you've got a hotel and all that kind of stuff, all the other businesses around, because you've got the Emirates Stadium, the Emirates facility there as well. the whole East End could start to get regenerated, and it comes up. So that only benefits Celtic as well.
Isn't that what's happening in Liverpool with Everton? Was it Bramley
Yeah,
Moore Dock or something
yeah,
like that?
as
Same
well.
thing.
Yeah, down Bootle. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've not been back, but I hear it. And Liverpool's gone through massive regeneration over the past 20 odd years because.
Old gentrification.
Yeah, well, I think it's investment, and same as Manchester. I mean, look at the change in Manchester. Manchester's a phenomenal city. Really cool stuff happening there, and it's still retained its soul.
That's what we want. We want to keep the soul of our club and what we're about and what we do, but at the same time, we want the club to progress.
Yeah,
So we'll get to the Dundee game. Keep it nice and simple. So
sure. Oh well, I can maybe wrap it on for a little bit about the Dundee game. So I didn't see the whole game, but I did. I did watch the highlights, and again, we're kind of leaving it late. It's again, I said earlier on when I was talking to Jared, that it remains to be seen what the new players are going to be like. But I do like the fact that we've signed a couple of big, bulky lads, as we had under Martin O'Neill's first tenure. So I think that's what we've been lacking for ages. But the fact that Chinchara has got power and pace as well, I think we've been lacking for that for so long. Araujo, I think he's been a revelation. I think he's really, really sort of stepped up to the mark, and as I say, I hope we can keep the guy. But again, he's got power and pace. So, sorry, mate, I'm just rabbiting on while you're.
appreciate that. I'm still living. Good fun. No, it was keep going, Ian.
No, that was it. I was kind of repeating myself. So I was glad that you came back. But I think we've lost our rhythm a little bit. So if you go back to the run sheet, so
No, all
sorry
good.
everyone for rabbiting on.
No, all good. Yeah, I just thought the first half was pretty basic. Both teams, it's a pretty open game. Both teams had some chances there. Nothing happened. Second half, I don't care who was in goals. They weren't picking their goal out of the net. That was an absolute cracker. I'll give credit where it's due. Was it Hamilton? Absolutely blasted that in. That was a howitzer of a shot. Had the Roberto Carlos reverse curve on it. That thing was just moving.
See
So
this is a problem we've had. Look, we seem to be like when we're getting hit on the counter. It happened for the second goal against Utrecht, and it happened against against Hearts. Yeah, it was against Hearts. It's just like when we get countered, it's like a hot knife through butter. And that Dundee goal, we just sat off him. It was a cracking goal, but we sat off him and gave him too much time to get the shot off. So that's a concern.
yeah, it was absolutely. I don't know which chat I saw it in, but it's like every time we play in some team, there's just one random player for each team that just looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And it was like, what was his name? Calvin Miller against
Yeah.
Falkirk. And then this one, I think you may have said it, Ian. I don't know if it was you or not. But then this time around, it was Hamilton. And then when we go back to the Motherwell game, was it Elliot Watt or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's just plenty going on in terms of there's just this one player just pops up out of the blue and that's what I'm saying. It's usually a midfielder. It's like our midfielders just our biggest weakness at the moment. But yeah, that was a fair goal. Give credit there. But then we just kept the ball and we just kept playing and we kept playing and kept the speed going and we're building and building and building. And credit where it's due. I think that was the best 20-minute burst of football from Tenecti I think we've seen from him in the Celtic top. Towards the
Yeah.
end of the second half where he gets in, is taking a man on, getting to the byline, cutting it in, trying to come inside, setting teammates up, and then to get that ball in from him for Mister Junior Adamu for his first goal in the hoops. The nice little back heel too. Good finish to equalise it, and there's more people walking out at that moment when we equalised, and you turn it in, they come running back in.
Yeah.
Free football at that stage.
Yeah. Well, it was heartening to see that we kept going to the end, and especially with it being new players. Maybe that was what pushed us to that sort of threshold and to keep going because they're keen to impress. But Martin O'Neill's obviously got a lot to do with it as well, and it's he won't stand for us not for us taking the foot off the gas, and the fact that we got the equaliser and then we still pressed for the winner.
I reckon some players, Ian, are looking at going, this might be our best chance of a trophy this season. So we better
Maybe.
work our asses off because we're already missed out on one trophy. We're third in the league. So they're probably thinking this could be our best chance. Let's make sure we give it all.
Yeah.
And then you get to extra time, and what an absolute thunder bastard there by Tenecti.
Yeah.
Fair goal.
He's clearly got talent, and I think the frustration that we've had is his football intelligence, his decision making, and he's been a bit weak in terms of physically weak, not fancying it. If it gets a little bit physical, he kind of pulls out, and that was one of the first things I noticed. Really, he's got a few tricks, but he just never knows when to release it. So Sean Maloney was a striker of some note. So hopefully he can get him, 1-to-1 and give him a shout and give a bit, as Harry Kewell did with Dyson, because there's clearly talent there, but it's a lot of it seems to be mentally and developmental.
I'm going to look at it on a slightly different tangent here, Ian, because I agree with what you're saying. That's probably more what it is. But I'm just thinking, when you look at your options on the wing, right, and you've got Balikwisha, Yang, Tenekti, and then you've got Dazen. I'm skipping Mavuka because he's a right winger. I said Yang because Martin's playing in both wings.
Yeah.
And Jamesy can play both wings, right? So you got 5 options for there. Maybe the message has finally got through to Tenecti. I'm not guaranteed a game week in, week out because Balikwisha is like the modern day Dirk Borger. It's the way I look at it. We're spending copious money on him and he doesn't play.
He got injured, didn't he? He looked all right when he first. I think it was that Kilmarnock game he first came on. I remember thinking he looked a decent player.
He got injured in his debut, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So you've got one of them's out, and then you've got 2 guys that are playing either side, and then you've got Dazen, who's naturally, what is he? Is he a left winger? Is he a striker? So he's probably looking at going, I've got all these guys who can also get a game here. Maybe I need to lift my game.
Well, hopefully that's the case. Hopefully that's the case for all the players.
I'm going to bring up some comments. So Andrew Galea, our best winger is Yang right now. You won't hear me arguing that. 100%
Can't
I
be
agree.
denied, really, can it? But the thing with Yang is the fact that he has got talent, but seems like he's been in the gym and looks like he's trying, and under under Nancy's system, where he's not a wing back, but he was the one who was put the most effort in trying to be, Tuneki didn't or couldn't, whereas Yang at least tried.
The thing with Yang, like even when he first come in, other than that dodgy red card he got against Hearts, he's always been a trier.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was saying, like about Mavuka early on, like at least he was having a crack. So, yeah, it's one of them things where I just look at it and go, the fact that he's working hard and he's trained himself up to be the player that he is now. Like, is he what we need to go on a run in Europe and go on a run next year and try and qualify for the Champions League? Probably not. I'd hope we'd get better by then, a better standard.
Well,
But
so that's what I was saying about skills, yeah.
But in the here and now, he's the best option we've got, and he's delivering.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. You left the pause there, and I tried to get in. Sorry, I thought you'd finished. Sorry, that's why I started speaking.
Scratchy
So,
throat still from choking before.
sorry, mate. But no, that was kind of similar to what I was saying about scales. And it's like I'm not trying to be horrible about them, but I just mean same as Yang. It's like if I agree with you, if you want to try and progress at the top end of Europe, for us, which is the Champions League, if we can get in the Champions League and do as well as we can, then it needs to be with better players than the likes of Yang and Scales
Yeah.
in that competition.
As I said a few weeks back, Ian, we should have hijacked Skov Olsen signing for Huns because that's the one we want for the
100%.
Champions League.
100%. That
That's
cracking
7
signing.
million.
Once he
Apparently
gets fit, he'll run riot, I think.
Oh, yeah. So Bonnie's saying, what's the problem with Balakwisha? I can answer it in one word, and it's 4 letters long, and it describes excrement out the asshole. He's a bit shit. Robert Gibson, Balakwisha couldn't control the balls in his sack. There you go. And Andrew, I can name a couple of Aussie wingers better than Balakwisha. Before scrolling down, if Eli Adams is not the top name on that list, you're having a laugh. And then we've got Pegleg is saying Mavuka looks about 10% better than Balakwisha only because he will play. And there it is. Without scrolling down, Andrew, there we go. Been talking about him for a couple of weeks. I'll be looking to bring him in like 6-foot winger. Happy days. So, who are the other ones you're thinking of, Andrew? Let us know in the comments. But yeah, definitely there's options there. Yeah. Man of the match for the Dundee game, I'd give that to Arahau.
Yeah.
And then Tenecti would come second. Now, we've got, just before we normally we'd end the pod talking about upcoming games and our final thoughts. I just want to talk about the crazy fixture list we've got upcoming. So we've got Livingston at home, then Killie away. And then we get the crazy couple of weeks. Stuttgart at home, Hibs at home. Then we have 4 straight away games. Stuttgart away. The Huns away. Aberdeen away. And then the Huns again in the Cup. That's going to be fun. Smile, everyone. Try and talk yourself into it. Those couple of weeks, particularly once we get to the Stuttgart Hibs, Stuttgart Huns, Aberdeen Huns, those 6 games, that's season defining for us. Not just for Europe, but for the league. We can come through those 4 league games, what have we got? 1, 2, the 5 league games. We can get 12 points out of all of them, which I think is achievable. If we can come out of that with 12 points, we're going to just launch off and win the league. What do you think, Ian?
Well, the thing is, we can't. Obviously, it's going to be difficult the way that they've fallen, and obviously the 4 consecutive away games, but they've all got to be there. They're all there to be won, and we just got to knuckle down and just the cliche, one game at a time. But I think if we do all right in Europe, I mean, we don't get embarrassed or whatever, that can't half give us some momentum to go into those sort of difficult away fixtures at Ibrox and Pataudry.
Well, where I was saying and this is what I'm counting at it, right? So if we can get 12 points, that would be ideal. But I'm looking at going, Livi, I want those 3 points for there. I want the 3 at the Killie game. Against Aberdeen, I want those 3. I think that's achievable. All them. So there's 9 points. The other 2 league games there is Hibs at home. I think we should beat Hibs at our place at Celtic Park. So there's your 12 points. And you got the Huns away. Now, the old saying is win your home games, draw on the road. And what happens? That's a good example. We do that, it's 13 points in those 5 games. I'd be happy with that. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting challenge. We'll see how it all goes.
I do think we need to try and beat Rangers because they're on the ascendancy, as we've said before, and it's like the wind in their sails for going into next season as well. It's like they've got the Indian sign overs at the moment. We've not done very well. We did obviously beat them in the cup, but before that, it's not been very good. Under Brendan. So yeah, it's. I think it would be good psychologically to try and take 3 points from them as well
Here's
and beat
one
them in the
for you.
cup.
Here's one for you, Ian. We go to their place. So we go to Stuttgart away. We somehow manage to potentially win that game on kicks, right? Say it goes to penalties and extra time and we get through. Then we got to fly back from Germany to do the long trip back to 1690 to play over at Ibrox. So we've got to do a bit of time travel there. And we go play the Huns and we win that game. Cue the meltdown. So if we won that one and then we went and beat them again in the cup and knocked them out, so they're not guaranteed a trophy. With what they've spent and how the thing they're on, their fans will snap there and turn like that. It will be brilliant. Not saying it's going to happen, but that would absolutely just like break their spirits of their fan base and their team, and we're flying.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could go the other way as well, obviously. But that could be. I think they'd plan to try and go for the league next year. I think backstage. I
Yeah,
think
that was
they've kind
actually
of
the plan.
shot themselves that they've found themselves in this position. So maybe, but the fact that they've got themselves right back into it, if that did happen, then obviously it's not going to be too pleasing. But it's going to be the same for us. If that's the reverse of what you just said there happens, we're going to be in meltdown, aren't we?
Yep. Well, will it be any different to what we've been seeing recently?
Oh, I know. But it's the actual realization, the
Yeah.
manifestation, of actually what we could see was coming.
Yep. So some comments here. Andrew saying we're relying on Motherwell beaten Rangers. And then Glasgow Celtic CSC saying the fact that Mob had their worst start since the 70s and are still challenging us says it all. And then Andrew saying, I watched St. Pauli beat best Stuttgart. Irvine ran the show. But what do you expect? He's from Melbourne and he has a fantastic moustache. Like, that says it all. And long luscious locks. Like, happy days. So, yeah, realistically, against Livi, what's your score prediction?
Against Livi.
It's at our place. It's not on the plastic.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah, 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 yeah.
we win 3-0.
I was going to say 3-0 actually, yeah.
And we're gonna have this is how it's gonna work for you. We're gonna see a Benjamin Arthur debut. He'll come into the squad. Ox will come into the squad. It doesn't necessarily mean he'll play, but he'll be on the bench at least. And our goal scorers will be Kanchvara double and Junior with the other one.
Okay, I hope you're right.
I'm just saying it because I just want to see that magnificent giraffe neck, put a couple of headers in. And then we've got Killie on the weekend on the plastic. What do you think that'll be, Ian?
Oh, they're not having a very good time, are they? I do think that Neil McCann, he talks a good game, I think he's a decent tactician. So he may just set them up to frustrate. So that could be what we end up dropping points there. I don't know, but hopefully, if all things are equal and we take it as seriously as we should do, I'm hoping for another 2 or 3 goals there without reply.
I love that comment. Neil McCann. He talks a good game. In other words, his tactics are rubbish, his team's rubbish, but he sounds like he knows what he's doing. It's
Well,
brilliant.
I think he was the brains when Barry Ferguson sort of was an interim manager. I think he was kind of the brains tactically,
Yeah,
from
he was
what
the
I heard.
guy working with the team on the pitch most days.
Yeah,
In the same way Sean Maloney is with us at the moment, and
yeah.
Martin's overseeing it. It's the same sort of setup. So it'll be
Well,
interesting.
if you can compare like McCann with Chris Boyd, for example, he does sound like he's clued up, but that's not hard.
You could talk to the bloody. I reckon there's probably some rocks in my garden in the backyard that have more brain activity than Chris Boyd. There you go. So yeah, I think we'll win the Killie game. That'll be probably a 2-0 for me. So yeah, good fun. Rubber duck, what a comment. There we go. Brains, the guy's a meat puppet. And Glasgow Celtic saying McCann is a muppet. Andrew is saying we could do with a big win. We might need the goal difference at the business end. Got some comments here. So we've got a 5-0. Pork Chop is saying a 1-0 win and injury free on plastic will do. Yep, 100%. So I think we pretty much covered everything off, Ian. So you got a final thought or anything?
Well, I'm probably just repeat myself from weeks gone by, but glad Martin's back. We've got players in now, so we just got to get heads down, arses up, work hard, and take just one game at a time. Europe is a kind of is a luxury that we can maybe. I'm happy to sort of see as sort of fall away if we had to fall away from anything. I'd rather us win the league, but you never know. Martin O'Neill back. If we get past Stuttgart, who knows what could happen?
Yep, 100%. So my final thought: nothing related to football at all. I went to the basketball yesterday. Saw Shane. He hasn't had a growth spurt. Same old. All I'm going to say is, where's your clapper, Shano? Where are you? Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hail, hail, and we'll see you next week.